Elizabeth Hack, continuing with a lecture on the visual language. We were talking about line and different types of line. We're on to contour line. A contour line describes the boundaries and the edges of a three-dimensional form. Not just the outline, but the edges that come into the form. This is a leg and foot drawn by Degas, beautiful draftsman. And you can see the beautiful nuances that he's twisted and turned around all the discrete edges that he found in what he was looking at. So all the muscles, all the tendons are indicated here with this beautiful contour line. In this poster style painting by Lautrec, Lautrec has used contour line. He's painted it though in a little less nuanced but equally as expressive contour line. The outline, not really the outline, but the edges of the form. Directional line, line that creates a visual pathway. In this painting, you see the tree comes up to create a very distinct line. It's a vertical line in the sky that starts to branch off, move over to this cluster of trees, which creates another vertical line, basically. So this line is a pointer. It's like a finger pointing here and moving our eye downward. And by doing that, the artist has created a wonderful little glade, a little private place in which the action takes place. A little ovoid shape here. Picasso, in his drawing, creates a jumpy line, a high action line. He bounces you right into this picture, this drawing, and moves your eye through it with all these jazzy shapes and then moves your eye out of it. Directional line. Motion lines, a lot like directional line, except they're repeated lines that often indicate actual movement to keep the action in the painting. You know, a picture or a photograph is a frozen image, and the artist wants to unfreeze it, and he does, or she does that with motion lines frequently. And Can-Can Dancers here by Seurat, French 19th century artist. Repeated diagonals over and over again, bouncing your eye to this diagonal of the instrument, the diagonal of the baton, and here's another instrument or some other diagonal. And the whole thing seems to be diagonally leaning, and it's held up by a couple of strong verticals. Implied lines. These are lines that are created by compositional grouping, often to emphasize the focal point. Not always, but often. So on the right we have a deposition from the cross by Rembrandt. A very strong diagonal line made up of bodies. Christ's body, the cross, and the arm of the person who's taking him down from the cross. And it's a white light just shot through the darkness. So that is emphasizing the focal point, obviously, and also the meaning of the painting, light and darkness. On the left we have George Bellows, a boxing match. These men are interlocked in a pose that can be read as a line. It's like a hairpin turn here, offset by the strong diagonal of the ref, which can be, you can say that that's another implied line. Shape. This is the element of art number 2. A flat area defined by boundaries. So to create a shape, you simply enclose a line or draw a line around an area, close it in, and you've got a flat shape. The thing about a shape is that it's flat, okay? No dimension, or excuse me, 2 dimensions only. Geometric shape is one type of shape. It can be mathematically measured. You can make them with rulers and compasses and other measuring devices and handily measured. Organic shape, an irregular shape such as those found in nature. So this is a painting, a trompe-l'oeil painting. This is a Paleolithic sculpture of sorts, very, very ancient. This is another painting. You can see that basically these shapes can be described as organic. It would be hard to measure. Of course, with modern measuring and drafting techniques, you could do it with a grid, of course. Here is a painting by Georgia O'Keeffe in which organic and geometric is played against each other. This is a cross, which is definitely geometric, but Georgia O'Keeffe has made the lines the contours of the cross very organic and nuanced. Instead of doing it with a ruler, she did it freehand, of course. And these mounds are soft. Yeah, they're pretty geometric, but we know that they're organic. Implied shapes. Shapes created by the grouping of compositional elements. These types of things help us define meaning and perceive meaning, and whether we know it or not. Mother and child, this is generally created with this type of shape. It's a pyramid shape, a strong base with a pointy top. So it's a very stable shape, and it gets us this feeling of security that the child has in the mother's arms. This is another implied shape, another triangular pyramid type of shape that is echoed throughout the picture. The artist has disguised this cathedral in the triangular pine trees. Very interesting painting. Once again, obviously created to imply a spiritual meaning. This painting is comprised of a repeated shape over and over again, which makes it very, very pleasing, and also it seems to me to create the notion of sound. This is a singer. She's actually singing. She's got the sound coming out of her ovoid mouth, and we've got these wonderful ovoids for her eyes. There's an ovoid around the neckline, the ear, the head. It's just echoed and echoed throughout the picture, and then offset with notes of verticals and diagonals. See if you can find them. This slide seems to be missing its heading. Color is what it should say. Color is a significant component of human perception. As the bullets, you can read through those bullets, has cultural meaning. It carries emotion and also can be used to direct the eye in a work of art. So if something is red, just like a bull, you'll go for it, right? This image here shows how light, actual physical light mixes. We've got green and red making yellow, green and blue creating cyan. So these are a very different way of mixing than we see on the painter's color wheel, which we'll discuss it in depth. Okay, we have to understand wonderfully, tremendously, that color is actually just pure white sunlight, energy, electromagnetic energy floating around in our physical world. And we, in light, colors are all blended together. They are light, traveling in light waves. So Sir Isaac Newton devised an experiment in which he was able to actually isolate each one of the colors into their discrete components, splitting, refracting the sunlight and bending it to a different angle. This is a wonderful experiment you can do with your students to show them how color is white light. You can read through this. It's a little more detailed information on electromagnetic energy traveling on light waves at certain wavelengths. And that is why, of course, they're always in this order, because it indicates the rate at which they're coming into the world. Okay, this is how artists perceive the world of color. The artist arranges colors on a color wheel so that he can and she can use the colors in different harmonic relationships. We can divide it up into primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. I don't know this cursor here. And then secondary colors, in which you mix a primary and two primaries to get a secondary. So the primary of yellow and red makes the secondary of orange. The primary of yellow and blue creates the secondary of green. The primary red and red and blue make the secondary of violet. Then we have tertiary colors, in which you mix a primary and a secondary, you get a tertiary. So they are on a 12-part color wheel, which is a very good thing to teach students. Are 12 colors, 3 primaries, 3 secondaries, and 6 tertiaries. Now, of course, there are a million different types of colors. There are different primaries and secondaries that make very different tertiaries, etc. So that is something more advanced that you can learn later. Primary colors are the first colors. They cannot be produced by mixing. Secondary colors, the mixture of 2 primaries. Tertiaries, the mixture of a primary and a secondary. This is very important for perception and understanding and appreciating art. And that is what we call color harmony or color schemes or arrangements. They produce harmonious or interesting effects, desired effects, and these we call color relationships. Okay, so there's monochromatic, which is just simply one color. Complements, 2 opposites on the color wheel. Analogous, that's a color family, when 3 or more colors right next to each other on the color wheel. And the triad, 3 equidistant colors on the color wheel. So look at the color wheel in your book and see if you can find these color harmonies. Here's an example of monochromatic, 1 color, just basically done with oranges and black and white. This is complementary. We have orange and blue. This is the strongest of color harmony on the wheel. It is opposites, and a wonderful way to arrange colors in a picture. Here we have basically 2 sets of complements. We have yellow and violet and red and green. We call that a tetrad, 2 complementary pairs. Analogous, close colors on the color wheel, neighbors. Triad, 3 colors. Here are this painting on the right, red, yellow, and blue. Poussin has used them to basically design his picture. This is the Holy Family and Saint Anne, I believe. He's put this family in the triad, yellow, red, and blue, beautifully placed. Mother, child, and grandma. And then we've got Joseph. He has no color. We don't even notice Joseph is there. All we see is his foot lit up. Well, that says a lot about Joseph. He's a provider. He's in the background, and he's basically holding up this mother and child and kids. Excuse me, I think that's Elizabeth, not Anne. Okay, here's another attribute of color. We have hue, value, and intensity. Hue is the basic pigment of the color. Okay, value is its darkness or lightness. And intensity refers to how brilliant or toned down it is. So here's value in its pure form without color. You could color orange right over that and create an orange of a certain intensity. Texture is the surface quality of a work of art. This is actual texture that you can actually feel. Simulated texture, where the artist has tried to create the texture. Okay, value. Value is the effects and relationships of light and dark. And we have arbitrary value, like a checkerboard, used as a design element. And a lot of times we have actual value, in which the artist tries to have a source of light to bring light to the world. Okay, so a grayscale is used to determine where and how much to put the lights and darks. Arbitrary value. an arbitrary